Hello and welcome to episode 3. Today we have Prashani Ilangasekara. Prashani functions as the General Manager, Group ESG at Haley's PLC and is responsible for implementing the group's ESG roadmap. She is also part of the team responsible for preparing Haley's PLC annual report and contributes towards driving better sustainability reporting practices across the group. Prashani holds an MSc in Finance from the University of St. Andrews and an MBA from the Postgraduate Institute of Management, University of Sri Jayewardenepura. She is also an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, UK, and serves on the Sustainability Disclosure Standard Committee of CS Sri Lanka. Welcome.
I am really happy to be joined by Udara Kumaratunga, who is the General Manager of Commercial and Marketing at South Asia Gateway Terminals in the Port of Colombo, overseeing commercial strategy, marketing, sustainability, and customer service. Udara began her career at John Keells Holdings, later managing 360-degree marketing for flagship projects like Cinnamon Life before moving into digital marketing at eMarketing Eye. Udara joined SAGT in 2020, bringing broad experience across marketing, digital strategy, and logistics. She is the first female president of the Sri Lanka Australia New Zealand Business Council 23-25 and contributes to industry bodies including Vista Sri Lanka, the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, and the Ceylon Chambers Climate Action Steering Committee. A graduate of the University of Sheffield and the University of West London, where she did her MBA, Udara is also an Australia Awards scholar and a former national swimmer who represented Sri Lanka internationally. Welcome, Udara.
Welcome.
Okay, so shall we start off with kind of telling each other what inclusivity means to both of us?
So I'll start off with a little bit about what it means in my industry. The maritime industry globally is male dominated. So for us, really, inclusivity seems quite basic, where we're trying to make way for women to be part of our industry. And today we see that the industry has really taken quite a few strides. We have women now in multiple different roles. And technology is also helping us go beyond just women. Especially in Sri Lanka, we see in the port sector, particularly, women participation is very low. We still have archaic laws, regulations that prevent females from entering port premises, which prevents females from taking on roles because the port is operational 24 hours a day and women can't participate in 24-hour shifts or shift-based work. So because of that, our progress within the port industry is quite limited. But having said that, today we have multiple females, we have females in multiple roles. We have females in engineering, we have females in health and safety. And today I'm very proud to say the company took a stance last year and was able to get special approval to get 12 females on board shift-based work as well. Okay. So there is now change happening, gradual, slow progress, but still there is change happening. And hopefully with technology that's coming on stream, we will have a lot more diversity in our workforce and not just a gender balance. And so that's a little bit about my industry and what inclusivity really looks like for us. And what it might look like in the future, because we'll have technology where people can work from outside of terminal premises. Today, globally, we have operators where the actual crane operators sit outside. They sit in an office outside. They're not operating the crane from the crane itself. So, and this technology is available. It is a large investment. There's also a lot of barriers to entry with the technology, which is why it's not implemented fully here. But we have terminal operators within the port that are new and coming up with introducing this technology, which open doors. So I think the industry is really evolving and inclusivity is going to look very differently for us in the next few years.
So like the regulatory side has also evolved, is it? Has it, or is it taking a little bit more time?
It's taking a little bit more time. So what we've got is special approval for these 12 females to be part of part of the industry. Previously, we've had people who were females who were trained as crane operators, not within our facility. Within the Port of Colombo, we've had female crane operators who weren't fully deployed because of this shift restrictions for shift-based work. Today, they've been re-skilled and now they're deployed in other areas, but they haven't fully seen potential of what they were initially trained for because of those limitations. So we've been working towards changing those policies for some time. We're getting there. We're not there yet. We're getting there. And like I said, we've made one stride by getting this special approval to have the females on board.
Super. So at Haley's, I think the story is slightly different. I mean, like, we are a huge conglomerate. We are across basically every industry in the country. So I think for us, so gender is one dimension of diversity. And of course, there are other dimensions that we're also looking at, like disability and race and even sexual orientation, which are kind of difficult conversations to have, right? But I will come to that. But in terms of gender, Udara, at Haley's, what we see is we have 35% representation at overall level. And that is kind of skewed because we have 15,000 plantation sector employees, right? But if you look at managerial and above, it's only 12%. So for us, that challenge is really to understand why it's difficult to bridge that gap and to really provide opportunities for women to progress to leadership levels, right? And I don't think this is an issue that is unique to Haley's. I think overall, if you look at the Sri Lankan corporate sector, this is the case. So, I mean, there are a lot of systemic barriers. In addition to cultural norms, I think there are also instances where we as women are comfortable where we are. We don't aspire for higher roles because of social norms, right? So those challenges are there. So this DEI journey, I think it's like you said, baby steps, right? Even at Haley's, it's been baby steps. But I think the first thing we have done is really the introspection part, looking into ourselves to see, do we really think that we are inclusive and equitable, right? Because sometimes when you talk to management, not just at Haley's, anywhere, right? Like the first response is, oh no, but we are an equal opportunity employer, we would give. But, first you need to understand that you have a problem. So that's what we are trying to do now. We have a target of achieving 100% DEI training, covering all our employees by 2030, which includes plantation sector and all that, right? So we've rolled that out sector by sector, and we are looking at diversity, like I said, couple of angles. One is gender, but also disability, which I feel is really weak in Sri Lanka in general. There aren't really opportunities for disabled employees. We are also looking at religion and ethnicity, and then on the sexual orientation part, right? So that has been our journey. And I mean, I completely agree with you. It takes a long time because it's a cultural shift rather than something that can really be measured through like metrics, right? Which is, I think, what this conversation is about, is the ROI of inclusion, right? So what is your view on this? This basically looking at the business case of inclusion?
So for us, ROI is at its, I mean, to be really honest, I don't think we don't really measure ROI properly either on inclusion. We have numbers, data in terms of ethnicity. So diversity in terms of ethnicity is something we achieved quite some time ago. And so that was our first step. Now it's gender, and we're getting there. So those parameters, the metrics, the data is available, and those are things that we track and we monitor and we look at policies to really support them. But beyond that, I think we're still trying to get our arms around figuring out how we should be measuring it, etc. But having said that, there's the tangible and the intangible. And for us, intangible is actually the success stories of what we've done and how it's come to play, right? If I was to talk about females coming in, we had a couple of years ago, we had no, sorry, not a couple of years. Back in 2019, employed our first female engineer who worked at operational grade. Today we have 3, 4, multiple others in different roles within engineering. And when she joined, of course, there was always this conscious effort of how is she going to integrate with the department? How is it going to happen? She herself is amazing because she did it on her own. She went through the challenges and the barriers, so she got around it. But having said that, I think she really opened doors for the others because people who worked with her then realized, hey, this is not someone I need to kind of be threatened by, or, I need to really work with this person because there's something else that this person brings to the table. It's not gender, it's a person. And this person's, provoking my thought process or giving me some new ideas. So the very people back in the day who kind of had a lot of challenge in terms of accepting this female in their workplace, today has multiple females working in their workplace. And as a result of that, we've also noticed a lot more females now. We've made female specific policies where we prioritize females for specific roles where possible. But we've also noticed that now there's more females wanting to apply for health and safety or, operations. They're not afraid anymore. And because our industry is known to be male dominated and, heavy machinery. And that was a social stigma that kind of kept people away from it as well. But today we have very young graduates coming in and saying, I want to do this job. I would like to see where it goes. So I think that in itself is a success story, a measure of what we've done and how we've come to play. So I think as much as the numbers really speak for themselves, we really need to take a step back and think about how we've changed the culture, how people are a lot more receptive towards it. Changing the culture for us didn't happen overnight. We've really brought in from little policies like bringing your children to work and showcasing them what their dads were doing at work, and then using that as an opportunity to ask their fathers what they would like to see if their children were to join. Those were kind of the discussions that we had to have. And then our policies of, anti-sexual harassment and etc., all of those had to come into play. We understood before we really brought in these policies of increasing women overnight and targets, we thought, okay, having our groundwork was important to us. So we had that groundwork done, and then we brought in the females into the workplace. And gradually, I think that also gave them the platform to really perform rather than having to fix it while having to perform. So I think that was one of the things that helped them. Today, we're looking at policy not just for the females. We recognize that every man who works with us has females in their household, and we need to support them as well. So we are very proud that we at SAGT have the first paternity leave policy, and it's amazing how many fathers have actually used it. We encouraged it to be used, and the amount of fathers who have used it, which means there is something that they're contributing more than to their households as well. And hopefully some of their wives are going back into work, or, it's taking a little bit off that family pressure. So those are some of the policies that we've put into play, and we're looking. Again, those you can track numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're tracking numbers through those. But soon, I think we will look at really understanding what the benefit of that is and what more we can do to support as well.
So I think on the numbers and metrics, like you said, I think the outcomes of DEI is very intangible, right? Because it's culture driven. It's more about like organizational transformation, which you can't really measure in terms of numbers. But for me, like as a sustainability professional, I feel you need the numbers to push your agenda with the leadership, right? So I'll give you an example because you brought up paternity leave. So Haley's didn't have paternity leave. So recently we were looking at female retention numbers, right? And then so I was presenting this to we have a ESG steering committee, which is a board subcommittee. And in that, So we presented the numbers and we saw that 67% of our girls didn't come back to work after having their first child, right? So when we presented this, then they saw the numbers and they were like, okay, we need to do something about this because we are losing a lot of our good talent. So that is how the story for paternity leave came up, right? And eventually we ended up, giving paternity leave across the group, which was, and like childcare allowance, right? Which was significant in terms of impact. So I think sometimes you need the numbers to really showcase it. And also it's a good way to track progress. But I think for real, like soft things like DEI, there needs to be a lot more qualitative factors that have to come into place, right? And the issue with this is that these are long term, and still for our boards are still more short term, more financial focused. So that's why that is challenging. In terms of the business case for us, I think we are at an advantage because we are export oriented, right? More than 50% of our revenue is from exports. So now we've gradually seen how the focus of a lot of customers has been all this time on the environment side, right? So emission tracking, reducing energy intensities, all that. But now recently we've seen this push towards DEI, right? Regardless of what is happening in the USA. So now we actually have customers saying, you need to source from women-led supply chains. So it's going down to that level. Or you need to source a certain percentage, or you need to recruit a certain percentage of employees with special needs or disabilities. So that sort of thing gets pushed from the top. So then again, that business case is really there, right? But personally, I feel like you said, it is a cultural shift. And it is something that will take time, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
For us, you touched on a very critical point. For us, our industry, our customer base is predominantly foreign. They're international and they conform to different procedures, different laws. So for them, DEI is also something that they kind of look at when we as a supplier sign up to them. We've also got to conform to certain regulations. So they are also very interested in what our DEI practices have been. And numbers, like you said, we of course need the numbers. We love to look at the numbers. We're looking at whether it's gone up, whether it's come down, how has it performed. We absolutely love those numbers. But as much as we love those numbers, I think we've also put a lot of focus on changing culture through training. And that has started off with our management. Our management have gone through different types of training, whether it's with UNGC to different topics, different resource personnel. We've put everyone through training. As a result, it becomes a top-led kind of process. And this is not just for gender, but it is for DEI. So gender is our primary focus, but it is DEI at this point in time. So because of that, and now we've gone into pushing the next layers and the next layers into training. So what I saying success story. Something that was really interesting to us was also there was a UNGC Innovation Accelerator, and we basically selected a group, a management team, got together and selected two groups of employees to participate. One of the groups, mixed gender, decided that the cause or the objective that they wanted to work on was to increase female participation.
Okay.
And that was not a mandate from the company. It was purely on their own volition that they decided that that was a topic that they want to work on. And it was interesting because they all came together, whether it was going out and speaking to people, understanding what really the company needed to do in terms of making this a more gender diverse company. They were the ones going out and doing the groundwork. Similarly, to bring the females, the 12 females into the organization, it was mainly a group of there were a few key male figures that really drove the program, and
Wow.
everyone was watching them, drive this program, and now they understand what that change means. But I think them taking, they weren't really given the mandate and said, okay, this is now part of your job responsibility. They really took it and ran with it, which now has given precedence to the rest of the organization, and their co-workers to understand that this is something that has some benefit. I may not particularly understand it at this point, but someone else is also working. Let me get interested in it. Let me go find out.
Yes.
So now sending them for training is, everyone's kind of waiting for that training. Everyone is waiting to understand how they can do different things, and we've seen a lot of collaboration now when we've got mixed teams working together. We see a lot of collaboration. We talk about, again, innovation. We can actually track these little success stories from when we've introduced females into different departments. What are the new policies that have come on? They might not be the only ones, but they've also shaped it in a way, and that achievement is shared. People aren't saying, hey, I did it. People are saying, we did it. So that is something that we're really proud of. And I think that is, again, the culture change that we worked for multiple years. That's the result of it. And that is really if we could outline the success stories, then there's a metrics for us to now track. So I think that definitely is something that we look at.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of the culture change, right? I mean, I'll share some insight with you. So, like now, Haley's is very diverse, right? So, you get like from the non-executive employee in, say, Jaffna or Kilinochi to your executive in Colombo. So, I think for us, one of the biggest challenges were to kind of get everyone onto that same wavelength, which is not easy, especially because people have very concrete beliefs about these things, right? So our messaging here was always, yes, you can have your personal belief. For example, you may not believe in any other gender other than male and female. That is totally fine. But when you come to Haley's, we are all equal, right? And you will treat everyone with that same respect and dignity. So I think there is also this part where sometimes you can't change personal beliefs. And if you try to do that, you won't achieve anything, right? So the point to get across is that if it doesn't affect the way the person does their job, then it doesn't really matter, right? Male, female, LGBTQI plus whatever, right? So that is one thing that we are trying to do. I feel that it'll take a long time. We jokingly say, we probably need to bring cranes to lift the rocks that some people are under. But I think this is the reality, right? So I think for most organizations, that would be the challenge. I also wanted to kind of pick your brain on the optics of DEI. I feel like a lot of organizations focus only on the optics, like, how does it look on Instagram or, how, which I think that part is important.
It is.
But in a sense, it's superficial change, right? So I think you spoke a lot about what can happen practically to make people really feel included. So is there like anything that you can share with us on what happens there?
So for us, our communication is all about, again, the success stories or how it's happened. And it becomes a we rather than me or I.
Okay.
And that has really been the platform for everything that we've done. And I think that's also why we've been able to change this culture. I mean, for us also, we have a massive workforce of 600 plus permanent staff, and then we have a 600 plus contract staff, and we're all working together in this one space. So bringing, again, male dominated, although different ethnicities, religion, whether it's where they live, that has never been something that we have put a limitation on. So we have multiple people from around the country, different beliefs coming into the terminal, and that's been the case since pretty much day one. But when we brought in someone who looked different, right? When we brought in females looking a little bit different to their usual, that's when everyone was a little unsure. But again, for us, something that we've really done is that talking to people about it. For us, we put a lot of emphasis on training, but we've also done that training of talking to them. We've gone to the point of we try to incorporate a lot of our families into what we do as well.
Yeah.
So we have family sports days. We have family, coming into the terminal for Bhaktigi or Christmas carols or something like that. And then we take them around the terminal and we try to inspire them to also feel proud about having their fathers work there, and then also kind of showcase what the opportunities are for them. We give scholarship programs to children, and we get whether it's from grade 5 all the way to university. So that kind of engagement has allowed us to drive the change of people who are working inside the terminal, not just within the terminal walls. We're also changing, the families' conversations of, I mean, sometimes we do a newsletter that goes out to the families, not to the.
Oh, wow, okay.
It's addressed and sent out to. I mean, it's addressed to the employee, but sent out to their homes. It's not distributed at work, so that the family can read it. We have puzzles and stuff like that in the book, and it's all picture based, so that even children understand that, hey, I'm getting used to now seeing this different type of people. I can be this. I can be part of this, or aspire to this, which has really helped us to change that culture, the way in which we think. So that has then allowed us to kind of do our communication that way as well. Our communication started off with our employees, and then it now translates back into the stakeholders by saying, hey, this is what we do, but this is not simply just a policy, or these are some of the things that we can get as benefits, and we try to incorporate that success stories or the opinions of not just the marketers of the organization, but everyone across. That has helped us to kind of position what we do. And also it is reported. I mean, you will understand that your reporting background. We try to report those success stories as well, as much as our reporting focuses a lot on the environment, etc. This is an area that we will also speak about. We'll do a case study on what we've done, so that there's a tie-in with the actual fact as well, and it's not just done for the socials, as most people call
Absolutely.
it.
Yes. Which is where I think the risk is also, because it really undermines kind of the authenticity of what you are doing, right? I mean, I also feel there is a huge role that the leadership can play in this. So I think the term here is like intentional leadership, where the leadership really commits to this. So I mean, as a group, I think Haley's has tried to shy away from quotas, right? So we don't want to have quotas for women. For us, it's more about creating a culture where a woman would be happy to join, but also be given the opportunity to progress similar to her male counterpart, right? So it's about breaking those barriers. But I think in terms of leadership, again, that cultural shift has to happen. And I think that is where the winning point is.
Of course.
And even like small things, right? Yes, policies, all that matter. But, even in meetings, right? I think it's really important. Some of our leaders do this, I have seen. Like, you have to get everyone's opinion. Because usually in meetings, it's dominated by a few people. And then you have, 3 or 4 juniors who are just sitting there. But, if you could always make it a point to ask everyone's opinion, because it's just not about getting them into the workforce, but really seeing the value in what they contribute, right? Yeah. So I think those sort of things, I mean, kind of utopian, but I think this is where organizations need to head to, right? Yeah.
I actually have a personal example of that, where when I joined the industry, again, when I joined the industry, there was 2 others in the industry in the same kind of similar role, female. But again, and they've been in the industry for quite some time. I had just joined. So I think a lot of people kind of didn't really think that I had a perspective. Whereas, like you said, our management stood, even in external stakeholder discussions, would say, okay, this is my opinion. what about you, Dara? And that
Absolutely.
opened up that
Yes.
platform for me to speak in an external industry forum and also build kind of my reputation within that forum. So it really has to do with someone else kind of sometimes building that opportunity
Absolutely.
for you,
Yes.
and also giving you the confidence of saying, okay, you can speak, you have an opinion, share your opinion regardless of what it might be.
Yeah.
So definitely, I think really management has a lot to do with the tone, the culture, and what the
Absolutely.
organization is willing to do. And,
Yeah.
you know, it is really led by what the leadership. It is how they lead, what examples they give that
The tone at the
really
top,
set.
right? Yeah. And
Definitely.
also, I think it's about like, not having like individual champions, but like you said, collective champions of diversity. It can't be like one or two people waving the flag and saying, okay, we need to do this, right?
Exactly.
Because when you do that, it becomes more like
Again,
superficial.
your agenda and
Yeah,
not mine. I'm not going to.
exactly. Yes, I'm just doing
Yeah.
this to tick a box. So I think that is the case for most sustainability topics, right? Even on the environment side.
Yeah.
I think everyone needs to be part of it. Yeah, so that has been the experience.
So something that we actually do is our sustainability agenda is the responsibility of different departments. Our data is gathered through sustainability champions within those departments. So they are responsible for understanding what the changes are, how does it kind of impact, etc. So as a result, we brought in a lot of innovation in terms of whether it's reducing our carbon footprint. And a lot of the work that we're doing is conscious.
Yeah.
We're actually looking at it, we're actually tracking it. And that has really helped us because, like you said, champions are not just one person
Yes.
from the top.
Yes.
And again, in terms of driving our diversity goals, we appoint a champion from the management every year.
Okay.
And then we appoint two managers, or it could be different, looking at that year's agenda, looking at that year's performance, etc. We nominate two people to work with the champion on different aspects and go through specific training, etc. So that has then really cascaded down to different departments, and they're from different departments. It's generally merit based.
Yeah.
So you get nominated based on merit. And that has really allowed us to kind of build again this culture of, people becoming leaders. We have leaders amongst our, different organizations, different departments as well, because they are carrying the baton now. It's not just simply, GM of commercial and marketing, but whether it's someone else, it could be the executive, I don't know, procurement who can take the baton and run with it. So, and now there's a platform for those people to be heard. Any suggestions, etc., can be heard through the champion and then tabled at senior management. And that is now an agenda point for us as well to be discussed. Even if they don't have something to contribute, it is something that we kind of, pick each other's brains quite often, so that it is still being discussed. It's still part of the program. It's not just forgotten. So that.
Yeah.
So I've got a quick question for you. From the ESG lens, how does gender equity tie into sustainability goals and governance priorities?
Okay, so if you look at sustainability goals, I mean, if you look at the UN SDGs, then of course it ties into goal number 5, which is gender equality, but it also ties into others like decent work and economic growth, right? But I think from an overall sustainability perspective, what I've seen is, and I may come under fire for saying this, but I feel like when women are involved, there is a lot more collaboration and kind of community focus that comes into place rather than when there are no women, right? So in that sense, I feel decisions are made better. There is more holistic understanding of things that happen, because I think that is what women bring to the equation, right? That empathy and that sensitivity. So for a field like sustainability, that is critical, right? Then on the governance side as well, so a really critical theme that is emerging now is, I think, and we spoke about this, is diversity in leadership levels. So it can really strengthen your governance and your decision making, right? So even at Haley's, if you look at our dedicated ESG teams, we have a really good mix of male and female. And I think I was thinking about this when you were telling me about the ports industry. Even in like technical environmental roles, where we have quite a few at Haley's, right? So technical environmental engineers, I know like a few years back, it was completely male dominated, right? But now there are so many girls in that field, and they would do the emission computation, they would go look at a boiler, they would, I mean, we've even gone to some of our vessels, right, for the emission. So it's really nice to see these avenues opening up for girls. And from an overall ESG lens, I think it really enhances the quality and credibility of what we are doing, right? Yeah, so let me throw one at you too. What does a high performing, intentionally inclusive organization of the future look like?
So I think I would like to believe that there will be no discussion of DEI. It will be DEI is embedded, DEI is what they live, breathe, and it's also powered through technology, it's powered through innovation. And simply, there doesn't need to be a discussion around DEI. It's just simply incorporated, and people, it's obviously out there because there's going to be loads of challenges. We spoke about culture, we spoke about differences in people. So it's really out there, but I truly believe that in so many years in the future, we will be able to achieve it. And it doesn't matter where you come from, what gender, what ability you might have, you are simply able to do a job, you are simply able to contribute, and you are able to be monitored for your performance. And you're also given the tools to really, drive and perform and really do your best. So I think we talk about AI and robots and stuff like that. I think they need to be used as tools to really drive this DEI agenda. And DEI shouldn't become a topic of discussion anymore. It really needs to be part and parcel. We need to put a lot more focus on how these teams are going to innovate and do something different, and whether it is reducing our consumption and circular consumption, etc. Those are the topics that we really need to start talking about. So because we've been talking about it for quite some time.
Yeah, true.
Everyone's doing a lot of policies, everyone's doing different things. Today we really need to change and move on from there. So that, I think, would be the ideal all-inclusive kind of organization.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the discussion today, and for sharing all the insights and some of the things that we could also incorporate. It was lovely chatting to you.
Same here. I hope you continue to push the boundaries like you all have at in this industry. And yeah, it was great talking to you, Dara. Thank you.